Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. He's an actor, a writer, a raconteur, but Malachy McCourt is also a student of government and a practitioner of politics, and he's running as the Green Party candidate for governor of New York. And I am delighted to have you.
And I am delighted to be here, Ronnie. Thank you for the invitation.
You're a particularly attractive candidate because you at least have a certain joy and sense of humor. But you're running as a third party.
I am.
And
on the humor thing, Senator Cornyn, who was a senator in the latter part of the 18th century here, said, if you would be successful in American politics, he said, never make the populace laugh. Oh. Be solemn. Oh. Be solemn as an ass. All great monuments are erected over solemn asses. So I want to change that.
You want to change it.
Because you get in trouble. Remember Adlai Stevenson?
Yeah.
And he cracked a few jokes, or not stories,
right.
Told some humorous stories, and they lacerated it from. Right. And Lincoln, during the Civil War, he was a great man for the stories. He loved.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, but they just went after him because he said he was, I forget what it was, something about too old to, whatever it was.
Stevenson, I'm too old to cry and it hurts too much to laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Still, how many years?
Good,
right.
Very good.
But
so
Jack Kennedy had humor.
He did have humor, despite his backaches and everything else.
But it was a self-deprecating humor.
It was that. He poked fun at himself. Yeah.
So anyway, a third party.
Yes.
I mean, especially in this election, because it seems to be so one-sided in favor of the candidate that's the Democratic candidate.
Yes.
The third parties have several reasons. I mean, one is you want to win.
Well, no.
You don't even want to win.
No, God, no.
Well, everybody. You wouldn't want to be governor?
It would be very inconvenient because
it would interrupt your other
activities. Because I have a nice life. I'm going to be 75 years old, and I'm having a big birthday party at Symphony Space on the 20th, which is a fundraiser. So, but anyway, I can't think of moving to Albany. I met Pataki recently, the governor, the present guy who has been the acting governor for 12 years, and he was coming out of Tom Manton's funeral, the wake of the. So he said, this peculiar New York gesture, which is, am I going to vote for you? He said. I said, I don't see that you have much choice. And anyway, I said, I'm going to turn the governor's mansion into a place for the homeless. And I said, as you ain't going anywhere, you're going to need a place to stay. I said, he said, very funny.
Humor again. But it's a serious matter. I mean, a third party has a serious mission.
It's funny that it's called third party. It's like that saying strange thing of third world.
Right. No.
What's the first world?
No. Well, because we've always been known as a two-party system.
Sure.
Basically.
Yeah. But is there a first and second party?
Well, I would assume they say the Republicans may be the first party since they have the majority
the
right
GOP,
now.
The grand old party.
Right, and then the others.
It's not in European politics, of course.
Right.
By the way, I am as in Europe, I am not running for office. I'm standing.
Oh, all right.
Because I want people to get to know me. The others are running because they have to, because people get to know them, they won't vote for them. Right. And my slogan is, don't waste your vote, give it to me.
All right.
And so here we have the others, and they are pretty much, it is generally understood or misunderstood that the parties are so close together that there's no difference. And so here we have libertarian, we have the socialist workers and the working socialists. I can never get all those things. The Working Families Party and the Green Party, which I'm a part of. And it seems to me we don't have anything to do with corporate money, because that's the ultimate, to me, in corruption. If somebody says takes a large sum of money from a corporate entity, are they going to say, I don't take calls from those people. I have a welfare mother here that I'm going to spend the next 3 hours. We're going to have lunch. My arse, they are.
Yeah. So, but you also run on issues. I mean, in a way, they become a pressure group on major parties. right? It seems to me that's the most important role of the Green Party.
It is that
to influence policy.
We are at liberty to tell the truth.
Yes.
And there's no fear of offending. And I think it's so simple, Ronnie, that when you think about it, the philosophy of government, and it doesn't change from of the people, by the people, for the people, not over the people, I say.
Right.
For instance, we call this state of New York the Empire State. Now, empires need emperors. We don't need an emperor. And I'm changing that nickname of the state.
All right. What are you going to call it?
Prostate.
Oh, no, you're not. Come on. Let's be serious. I don't want you to be too silly because I really want you to make the case for the party and for the issues that you have. You have a platform.
Concerns. I have no platform. I'm standing on the ground.
The Green Party has a platform. The Green Party has a set of principles.
Right. I say platform. You see, I'm a kind of a loony on language.
Yeah.
So I don't stand on platforms. So that puts you above people, you see. I don't have issues. Right. I have concerns and interests.
All right.
I am an formally uneducated person. I left school when I was 13. And the only academic...
very dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're self-educated.
Because you get... it becomes eclectic and Catholic with a small c. But however, Ronnie, I'm making progress. I recently got I met the Irish Minister for Education, and he said, "Where did you get your degree?" I said, "I don't have one of those things." He said, "Oh, where'd you go to secondary school?" I didn't do that either. So I explained to him that I'd failed the primary certificate, which every kid in Ireland takes at the age of 12, grade school, to get out. Everybody has to take it to get into the next level. And he said, "So how'd you get to write bestsellers and a bunch of books?" I said, "Well, I read a lot. I rearranged the words and wrote them down. That's the essence of writing." "I see," he said. So he was very amused. And a few weeks later, the Irish ambassador called me to say that the Irish Department of Education, at the behest of the Minister for Education, were about to do something that had never been done in the history of Irish education. They were awarding me an honorary grade school certificate. So that's the only thing that I have. So consequently, I have always been the wonder of American politics and the raucousness of it, the give and take. And at one time, there was a certain robustness which has disappeared.
Right.
Now it's sneaky,
it's
dirty and mean and
money.
Money, yeah. And there's that ultimate. There is the corruption, and it's easy to throw around the isms and so forth, but the fact is that what does Nazism mean? It means National Socialism, which meant that the state and the corporations were in cahoots. And that's what happened there, that the corporations bought the state, and Hitler was in thrall to these huge corporate interests. And now we're having the same thing here. So I think that one of the things that
But Hitler also had... I know we're going to get phone calls or letters about this if we don't say something else. In addition to that, he had something else.
Oh, well, he had the whole looniness of his anti-Semitism and so forth. But I'm saying that's...
the underlying...
But oddly enough, he was photographed at a socialist meeting early on in Vienna. And so they assumed that he started off with ordinary socialism, then he moved into the extreme left wing, which goes around then to become the right wing, because it is like that. Now the isms. So anyway, it's easy to get into them, you see, so we need to understand. I would say that corporate lobbyists and people who are profit making should not be allowed near government. The corporations should not have the same rights as human beings. See, because human beings don't have the same rights as corporations. Because if you look at corporations, they can deduct or depreciate airplanes, helicopters, limousines, motorbikes, computers, office furniture, their luxury apartments, and everything else. And here are we depreciating every day. You can't take off your knee if it starts to go, or if you have to have a lung transplant. You can't deduct it. You have to have a whole lot of expenses for it.
So interesting, because I'm hipped on the subject these days of property taxes, and rather than depreciate, you have to pay what they say the market value of your property
Yes.
is, whether you've derived the profit or not.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite. But anyway,
So
yes.
that's
It's a
my.
basic, so you have a basic difference in approach to politics, or what it should be.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do believe. Well, it
Yeah.
is as I said, profit-making entities. So now the difference between, they say, special interests, and there's always this very clever thing they do, which is working class people are represented by unions. Now, unions are not in the business of making money. They're not at all. They are there to look after the welfare of their members. Corporations are there for profit, and as somebody, Karl Marx, I do believe, said, that the profit is the ultimate, that is the money, how much money you make. And it is that they are the sort of people who will sell you the last length of rope with which to hang
Well,
them.
we're surrounded by the bottom line.
Yeah, that's
That's
it. That's
everything.
it.
Right?
And it ruins
Everything.
children in school, you see, because look at what's happening in our educational system, Ronnie. We have children going into these joyless situations where they have them terrified of tests.
Yes.
It's sufficient test to be born, because the chances of being born are
survive.
quite, right? 5 million sperm, right, are floating up there, and only one hits the egg. And that's us.
So that's a concern, right?
That's a concern,
All right.
yes.
Another concern that you have
Would be,
with the issues,
well, I would say that I would repeal the Taylor law,
which is
the law that in New York, which prohibits strikes by public people in public employ. That's the only weapon that a worker has.
so we saw that, how that played out with the MTA.
Yeah, but they put Roger
Right, Toussaint.
in jail, and they put Mike
the
Quill,
fine.
and they put Mike Quill in jail as well. And so that, to me, that is absolutely disgraceful. They don't do the same thing to the corporations.
Right.
I don't
Mike Quill, when you talk about it, he had a wonderful line. You know, I think he was campaigning for a 4-day week.
Yeah.
And they were out on strike, or they were going on strike, and then they came to a settlement, and the settlement did not include the 4-day week. And they said, well, Mr. Quill, what happened? You said you were that was the major issue. He said, changed my mind. And I love that, and think about it all the time now with the Iraq and the public officials who dance around the fact that they supported the war there and now wish they hadn't or don't. So they never give. I mean, nobody ever says, "I changed my mind."
Changed my mind. Yeah.
What's the matter with that? That's what the.
And of course, Mike, he was a very honest man,
he was.
And very straightforward. And he never made a lot. He lived in the same modest house. He was a great union leader, and when they put him in jail, and he died.
Yeah.
You know, and he had this this exaggerated accent from County Kerry in Ireland. And the mayor of New York is too busy greeting the tulip growers of America to talk to the Transportation Workers Union. But we're going to close down them holes in the ground, and the people will have to walk. And no doubt Mr. Lindsley, the mayor, will have me put in the jail, but the judges in their black robes can drop dead.
Okay. All right. So the Taylor law. We're back to our concerns.
Yeah.
The Taylor law.
Yeah.
What else? What other concerns?
I have the single payer sickness insurance. Now, people are always calling it health insurance.
Right.
That's the mistake, again, about the language. You don't insure. You see, insurance is against something.
Right.
So if you say health insurance, it means you are insuring against health.
Provide
I
health
say
care, too.
To say sickness insurance. You insure against sickness. You insure against accident. You insure against tragedy, disaster as much as you can. So a single payer, and the government should take care of all its citizens. We're the only so-called civilization that doesn't have that. Do you see?
Yes.
And I would say that we have to have this damn thing, minimum wage. That is an absolute disgrace. When you consider that in this state, the city of New York here, $17,000 a year is poverty level for a single person. $34,000 a year is poverty level for a family of four. So that is, how can somebody make less than $2,000, $200 a week and support a family? So I would say that in the government that I would head, we would ensure that all firms doing business with the state would have to pay a living wage, which we would decide, which to me should be double the poverty rate. That's a living wage. And that they would pay pensions to all the employees, and that they would have to have a sickness insurance plan.
And everybody who screams, nobody will come here. They'll lose all this business to other states.
They would, because New York is New York. And it's the other thing is, I would subsidize all the farmers who grow organic produce. That is extremely important, because we're being poisoned by, because it's been flown in, the stuff is preserved and sprayed and everything else. And all the schools, every entity, a government entity would have to buy organic food so people wouldn't be poisoned by. And all those places on the highways, the
McDonald's
franchises, McDonald's, Burger King, Big Boy and Small Boy and Every Boy, they would all have to have a stand which also sold organic food, so that you don't have to, because fat and sugar.
So you're agreeing with the council member in Chicago who wants to eliminate, he wants to regulate the fat content of fast food.
I would.
All right. Now, we have the Rockefeller drug laws. We have capital punishment.
Right. The capital punishment. Now, Spitzer is for capital punishment. Faso is for capital punishment. He's also against a woman's right. Faso, woman's right. And so I say, I'm going to give him a job, Faso, which is finding loving homes for unwanted children. That's because I don't want anybody to be out of work because I was elected, took what they think is their job. Spitzer, I would make him the chief executioner. He's for capital punishment when killing of, somebody kills
but right now we don't have any, so he would have an empty job. Would that be called a no-show job?
Well, but just in case, just until such time as we repeal anything to do. When you look at it, it's fairly evident. I mean, we're supposed to think, oh, some Judeo-Christian, right? Says specifically, explicitly, thou shalt not kill. When you kill somebody, it's irrevocable. You can't. There's no way of saying, oh, he was innocent. Right, as has been happening a lot. Now he said, for those who killed policemen or police officers, right? My son, Conor McCourt, is a police sergeant, NYPD. If somebody came and killed my son, it would break my heart, of course. I would grieve, but it wouldn't cheer me up at all to be invited up to Sing Sing, sit in the dead chamber and watch another human being being killed for him. I mean, that...
Don't you think that the public is far ahead of elected officials who say they're for the death penalty?
Well, it's what do you call that?
It's a
issue. It's a kind of. It is like when the pro-torture Republicans say the two most important things in issues are facing America today are flag burning and keeping the God in the. And you know what? This is the way you dispose of old flags is that you reverentially burn them. That's you know,
how you do it?
in flag procedure.
Right.
You see, that's how you burn them. Now, here's it is. So when you have the old flag and you say, listen, like you know, an old dog has to be put down. You talk to your flag. Say, now listen, we're going to burn your flag, but we're not radical people. We're going to burn you with reverence.
But we're going to have the instructions.
Instructions right here, and we'll have we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll burn you like a good Christian.
Now we're going to run out of time in a few minutes, so let's just keep going. Rockefeller drug laws, you'd change.
They're stupid.
Yeah.
They are stupid.
Yeah.
It takes away, we appoint or elect people because they have judicial temperament and indeed because they have some kind of training. And when a judge is sitting up there and a woman comes up before the judge, a poor woman who has
5
children, all right, and the boyfriend said, carry this package, and they catch her, and it's cocaine, and it's 15 years, and those children grow up motherless. Now, there's no discretion allowed. So why don't we have the equivalent of an ATM or something on the bench, and you put in money and said, this woman carried drugs, and the machine says, 15 years, boom, next case. Why do we have automatons on the bench? So it's absurd.
Many of them don't want to do it, too. That's
yeah,
the other
of course.
interesting
No,
thing.
many judges don't.
Right.
No.
And then we have the whole furor over same-sex marriages.
There's no same-sex marriage. There's just marriage. And if you love someone, that is your business. And if that's all marriage anyway, has nothing to do with religion, has to do with civil contracts.
Right, exactly.
So all people should be
Have a civil
allowed to make
contract to
civil.
be married.
And when you look at it, then they say, well, you can't have that. It's immoral. God said you can't do it, and so forth. But then I was talking to God one day, and I hate name droppers, but we were chatting about He's creating the world. Adam was made out of a lump of clay, you see, and fashioned and so forth, and then put a pee-pee on him and all that. And then God puts him to sleep. This is the story we're supposed to believe. And then while he's asleep, somehow or another extracts this rib and fashions a woman. That's he, Eve. So here they are, man, woman. Now, if he fashioned the woman from that rib, isn't that precisely the same DNA? Right? It's out of his body. So he's sleeping with himself. So what's wrong with same-sex marriage? If you sleep with yourself, you might as well be able to marry whoever you want, who's of a different DNA.
So you bring to this candidacy a certain practicality. You have a very clear way of looking at things, a great degree of whimsy, because you see all of these different things. Does your party have the same spirit that you have?
The Green Party, there's a degree of humorlessness as does happen with people who are on a mission, you see. And here's the way I look at it, Ronnie. Angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. And I'm close to being an angel, so that's what I do. I take what I'm doing seriously, but not myself, and that is the thing. So you have to. We are an extraordinary species, and I don't know if you're watchers, lookers in, and so for the people who are invading our privacy by looking at us now, do they know that we are 100%? Mortality rate?
Yes, that's true. Even though we worry about it, there's nothing we can do about it in the long run. The party has a goal, though, of getting 50,000 votes.
We need to get 50,000 votes,
so that they can be on the ballot automatically next year.
Right.
Does the Worker Family Party have 50,000 votes?
I do believe they have, yeah. Because they ally themselves with the Democratic Party
I mean,
a lot,
they are really not a part. I don't understand
No, they're
that.
not. It's like the Liberal Party.
Yeah, it's even less independent than the Liberal Party was at its height.
Yes, yeah.
But they're very serious about this. So do you campaign around the state?
I've been around, yes. I was up at the Ellenville at the Blueberry Festival last weekend. And there was a big Irish festival up in Kingston, New York. I did a couple of things up in Woodstock, New York. And I'm going to be at Symphony Space on the 20th in New York. And going to be at Connolly's on 45th Street on the 28th. So it's because we don't have any money.
Yeah.
And when I hear them talking about, well, Hillary Clinton has $23 million or something, and Spitzer has 491 million, and the other guys, and it's absolutely astounding the kind of money they talk about. We don't have any, but it's...
and the kind of money they spend, and what
spend,
you're
yeah.
supposed to have to
Sure.
be a
It should be,
candidate.
all these things should be publicly financed.
Were you
see.
ever a member, or did you vote Democratic?
All the time.
All
I
the
was
time.
a lesser of two evils person, yeah, including voting for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I voted for Jimmy Breslin too.
Did you?
And Norman. And
Yeah.
somebody, Chris Matthews, I was on that hardball the other
Yes.
night. He said, "Is this another Jimmy Breslin caper?" I said, "But that's not a caper." You read
The 51st state was no caper,
It was no
it?
caper, right?
Right.
And Joe Flaherty's book, Managing Mailer, was just absolutely fantastic.
Right.
Yeah,
And we
really.
still talk about it.
Of course.
The 51st state. I mean, the concept of New York City.
Yeah. George Washington Plunkett advocated that in 1904 as well. And now, who is it that's doing it out in Queens? The former Speaker's son, Peter Vallone's son, is saying that New York City should be the 51st state as well.
For me, he's a different kind of. It's so interesting that the perspective has gone in full circle.
Yeah,
'Cause he's, right.
Well, and also then, of course, Buckley was very funny when he ran as well. And he said, I always quote him and said, "If you win, what you do is demand a recount."
Well, we've come to the end of our program. Yes. So Malachy McCourt is running as an independent. He will be on the ballot on November. What date is Election Day?
November 7th.
November 7th as the Green Party candidate
For governor.
for governor. And who's your lieutenant governor? Quickly.
Alison Duncan.
All right.
And Howie Hawkins is the
Senate candidate.
and Julia Willebrand. We got 3 women on our ticket. Right?
That's very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronnie.
If there are any people you'd like to hear and topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.